I'm Malia Hyatt, a licensed marital and family therapist and registered play therapist at the Fellowship Counseling Center. Although I work with people of all ages, I specialize in clinical work with children, teens, families, and adult individuals. I'm grateful for the opportunity to engage the topic of shepherding a child's heart with you. I hope this time together will encourage and inspire you as you continue to invest in relationships with your children and others within your care. When I think of the concept of shepherding, I'm always struck by the unique relationship between the shepherd and the sheep. The quality of that very relationship is what determines the success or the failure of the flock within that shepherd's care. Caring for a vulnerable flock, like caring for a vulnerable child, is no easy task. Shepherds are leaders who, among many things, must be hardworking, knowledgeable, vigilant, and self-sacrificial. They need to be compassionately responsive to injuries and provide for basic needs. And they can't be afraid to step into danger to protect a sheep from harm. But perhaps the most important aspect of this relationship is the consistent and trustworthy presence of the shepherd that allows for the sheep to feel safe enough to trust and rest, and to just be a sheep. So much of this can be related to the role we play as shepherd of our child's heart, specifically as it relates to the sacrificial love required in the act of shepherding. 1 John 4:18 talks about a love so bold that it casts out fear, so that the quality of relationship between shepherd and sheep stays protected, and the sheep have no need to wander out of fear. How beautiful is that? Let's take a moment to break down some of this concept into doable steps as we think about what it means to shepherd a child's heart. I'd like to offer you 3 words to consider as you engage the process of shepherding. Those words are presence, promise, and purpose. First, presence. In order for us to shepherd our child's heart, we need to know and cherish it. And we can only really know a heart by spending time with it through being present. The quality of the relational and emotional environment is key here. Being present means that we are accessible, responsive, and emotionally engaged to them and their needs in a regulated, caring manner. It means that they can freely access us, reach for us in their joy and in their distress without fear of a negative consequence. Being with our child in this gentle way models empathy and helps a child develop this capacity not only for themselves and their own heart, but for the others whom they will eventually be in relationship with. Dr. Dan Siegel describes presence as an open state of awareness, a receptive way of being that invites connection. In this state, we don't judge our kids, but instead we see them as clearly as we can for who they really are. We make ourselves available to them, staying open, regulated, and accessible to them. This communicates they are a priority to us and that they are not alone. Dr. Siegel also points out that presence and growing in mindful awareness is also about being attuned enough to your child and to the situation at hand that you can recognize moments when your child doesn't want you to be with him or her physically. In these moments, an attuned parent might offer the child some space, followed up with an indication of where you will be if and when they're ready to talk. This approach reassures a child that you care, that you respect their need in the moment, and will still be available when he or she needs you. Promise. From the moment our children enter the world, we commit to showing up for them in all of their needs. Healthy parenting involves a promise to show up in the easy and the hard, to show up in the moments of fear and in the moments of joy, to show up for them by showing up for ourselves in our own stories, especially those filled with confusion and unresolved pain. Doing so enables us to resolve inner distractions and work through places of injury in our own story so that the way in which we show up to our children is free from our own reactivity and fear. Showing up is a promise to them that they will not be alone in their suffering, that they will always have a response to their reach to the best of our abilities. It doesn't mean that we will always get it right, but it does mean that we have an underlying intention to be there for them and to meet their needs as much as possible, no matter what. Life can present some extra challenging circumstances for some of our children and teens, but we can make it easier by showing up for them in whatever obstacle they're facing. Showing up for our kids teaches them how to be there for themselves, especially during times when we aren't there or able to be there. The inner resilience that is developed from consistent experiences like this in younger childhood helps support a teen and young adult show up for themselves as they venture out into the world and begin living independently from us. Learning to value themselves in response to being valued enough from a parent or caregiver has an irreplaceable ripple effect that will support and nourish a child throughout their lifespan. And finally, purpose. We all desire for our children to experience lives full of abundance, meaning, and significance in relationship with self, others, and God. Shepherding can also be described as the act of coaching or mentoring, and each of these roles are necessary in facilitating movement towards purpose. Helping our children know and understand their own hearts can help bring an awareness of purpose and an understanding of a need for God in their lives as they live out that purpose. As Christians, purpose in parenting provides us with an opportunity to shepherd our child's heart into appropriate ways of living and being that are honoring to God. And because of the connected relationship we've established with them through presence and promise, we are better able to shepherd them towards these paths of God and whom He's created them to be, because they've learned to trust our guidance of their heart. Take a moment to think back to a time in your life when you experienced the gift of being championed by another. It could have been a parent, a family member, a coach, a teacher, a friend, or a mentor. Anyone who saw your heart and believed in your purpose and championed you towards a pathway of meaning or significance in your life. And if this person had a spiritual focus, you know your life and connection to God would have never been the same without them. I once heard it said that God gives us children to make us more like Jesus. And I find that so true, especially in my own process of parenting. Shepherding is a courageous act that requires us to confront challenges both internally and externally. But we are not alone in our shepherd training process. Together, we can support one another in raising purposeful kids with hearts for the Lord as we continue to be refined as good shepherds in His kingdom.